Hi, I'm Steve Dye. Been with Bethel about 6 years, although for the past five and a half, I have been somewhat of a recluse, shut in due to problems I have. Um, I'm married with my wife Jan. We have three wonderful kids, five wonderful grandkids, and they've all been really a great blessing to us, especially during the past 5 years. Kids have always been willing to help us out, so that's really been great. I was at that time I was working at Allstate. In fact, actually, I've been a minister and still am, but I'd been a minister for a little over 20 years when my initial problem happened. In fact, we were on the way to church when this happened. In fact, Hilton had asked me to help him out at church doing a little bit of preaching, and I was on the way that Sunday to tell him I would. And so I'm driving. We got about a mile from church, and I told my wife I was having trouble moving my arm, and about a few minutes later I couldn't move my other arm, so we took the car to the side of the road and got me home. And next thing you know, I'm in the hospital, and I wake up 3 days later, and I'm totally paralyzed from the shoulders down. Couldn't move anything. Now, my stroke is different than the normal stroke. 800,000 strokes a year, and only 1% are in the spine. And mine is in my cervical spine at the very base of my neck. And one of the doctors told me if it had been an inch higher, I wouldn't have made it. It took 8 weeks of rehab to get me standing on my feet and walking a little bit and getting where I could move my arms. My hands took a long time because when they were clenched in fists from the stroke. And I remember every night going to bed at rehab praying, Lord, you got to open my hands up for me, because nothing they're doing is working, and they're about ready to give up. Nothing, they do can get my hands to open up. And so I prayed real hard one night, and I went to bed, fell asleep. It was about probably the 6th week of rehab, and I went to sleep, and I woke up in the morning, and my hands were like this, and I was so excited, and I started praising the Lord. And the nurse comes in and goes, "What's going on?" I said, "Look, my hands are open up. My hands are open up." She says, "Great." I said, "Yeah, but now I can't close them." So they're frozen open. So I got to start praying, "Okay, will you please just close them a little bit?" So they had to make braces for me that would operate to close my hands and open them. But now I can do that, though I don't have any strength in my hands. One of my grandkids came in and saw my hands dangling, and she called me Spaghetti Man from that point on. It was really, really sort of fun. Jan's been one of the biggest helps. I mean, she's had, when I first came home, I was like a newborn baby. And if you want a 230-pound baby, and you have to feed it and dress it and clean it and everything. And she's never, she's never gotten angry about it. Not to say we don't get on each other's nerves about it, because you do. After 5 years of struggling, But she's been a great help. My kids have been a great help. I know the church has been praying for me for all this time. I'm on the prayer list, and I know people lift me up in prayer every week. And Hilton, has come by and visited, and some of the other people from church have come by. And it's really good, to have that happen. And I've had people from other churches stop by. It's really nice, when the Christian community can come by and they can sit and talk with you and have prayer with you. That's really helpful. It gives you a boost in spirits. Because if you can imagine I'm sitting in this chair, and I actually wind up having to sit in this chair probably 80% of the day. Because I get up and I walk around to the kitchen, and by the time I get to the kitchen, which is right behind me, I'm ready to fall on the floor. So there's not too many places I get to go. The most important thing you've learned, it's a hard way to learn it, is patience. God wants to teach you patience. He'll give you a reason, to learn patience. And I have one. Because this doesn't, nothing works. It takes a long time to come back from something like I've had to just get from point A to point B. That's one of the great comforts, is knowing that you have Jesus on your side. Knowing that he's always there. He's there in the middle of the night. He's there in the middle of the day. He's there with you 24 hours a day. And he's never too busy. You can go to the Lord in prayer. You can sit and read his word and get comfort. And one of the great things, really helping overcome some pain, is just to be able to meditate on the Lord. It is really important for you to have a relationship with God. Because there are days where I have sat here and said, nobody cares. Nobody cares. I'd be better off dead. And that's when God reaches down and grabs you by the scruff of the neck and will tell you, hey, it's not your time. It's not your time at all. Don't even think about it. The thing that gives you hope, or at least what gives me hope, and I hope if you're a person who's going through long-term pain, is the fact that Jesus is always there. Jesus, it took God 6 days to make the world and everything in it. He didn't just snap his finger. He could have snapped his finger and everything was there. But he took it in increments. And that is the way I look at it. God may not want to heal you right off the bat, but that doesn't mean he's not with you. And you need to just keep holding on to him. That's what gives me hope, is that I'm in God's hands. And he's going to take me as far as he wills it. Does he want me to be whole and healthy? Maybe, and that might happen. He may want me to stay like this, because being like this, I can be a witness for what he is doing in my life and what he can do in your life. So don't be discouraged by the pain you're in. Don't be discouraged by the struggles you're going through, because God is there and God wants to help you. And if you let Him, He'll help you. He'll help you, work through this whole process of the pain.